Hello, everyone. Just starting a little bit late today because we are encountering some issues with some of the speakers hopping in. Not exactly sure why, but let's give them a few more seconds and then we can probably start. Okay, I guess we can start with a little bit of introductions while we wait for the others to hop in. Yeah, okay, let's go ahead. Hey everyone, great Thursday to all of you. I think everyone right now is very excited for the upcoming ZK Sync airdrop. I know everyone else that I've known is looking to it as well, if they are qualified or not. So I hope you guys qualified. I think that's the only thing that's making us happy in this actually really bleak and quite sad market, if I would say. Everything is down, so I think the hype for crypto is also not there as well, and you can see everyone's quite quiet nowadays, and I hope it picks up good quite soon. Again, guys, for the quick catch up, I am RC from Karen Labs. If you haven't heard from us, we are market makers and advisory service providers integrated with about 100 different sex and dexes. And today we are joined again with a couple of amazing people to talk about token launch dilemmas. Quite relevant topic given the current market situation. But yet again, before we do, please a reminder, no shilling, and kindly keep your introductions to 30 seconds. All right, then let's go ahead and give the mic to Divamon. Go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me clearly? Sound check?
Yes, crystal clear.
Fantastic. Nothing but getting rugged today, RC. That's all I can say. Every space I've been on so far today, it's just been rug city. Elon doesn't like crypto, I have to say. My name's Niz. For those of you that haven't met me, I'm the managing partner of Saguni Studios, which is the studio behind the creation of and development of Devamon. And I'm also one of the co-founders too. For those of you who don't know about Devamon, it's an entertainment brand that spans across multiple verticals: anime, Web3, gaming. We've got a game out called Callisto, which is available for iOS and Android. Hopefully, RC, you've played it. If not, I can get you some free coins.
I did actually. I would love that free coins as well.
I'll give you some free mon, man. I've got to hook up the family, haven't I? You know, so
Yes. Go ahead, please.
so with that being said, we've got constant updates, constant play. But when I want to describe Devamon, think of Digimon, Pokemon, think of Genshin, League of Legends, think of some really cool artwork, fun and accessible. So we've got some really big events happening over the next 24 hours in terms of what we're releasing and launching. So for those of you who aren't on our socials, sorry for the shilling, RC. Please join and have a look. That's it. Always pleased to be here. Familiar faces, and I missed the last couple, shamefully, but I'm glad to be back, RC, and always a pleasure to hear your voice.
Thank you so much. And I think Elon is going back to Tesla and completely abandoning Twitter nowadays. So maybe that's the reason for all the rugging, honestly. His coins are not doing well and he's going back to good old Tesla stocks. Okay, next one on the introduction would be Crystal. Go ahead.
GM everyone. Can you guys hear me well?
Crystal clear.
Awesome. I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you, Karen Labs, for having us. I'm Tung, Chief of Growth at Crystal. So Crystal is revolutionizing liquidity provisioning, making it more profitable, convenient, and accessible to everyone. So for the new crypto users joining this call, liquidity provisioning is one of the first DeFi innovations for crypto users to earn passive income, right? So if you don't know about it, you should definitely check it out. So at Crystal, we are storing and processing tens of terabytes of data to provide advanced analysis to help liquidity providers to make informed decisions. In the past 5 months, we have facilitated over 400 million US dollar in terms of transaction volume, and we are having 84,000 monthly active users right now. So looking ahead, we are developing automation tools to help liquidity providers maximize their profits with minimal effort. right? And we are also launching a groundbreaking platform to redefine blockchain fundraising. So I will share more details when we get into the how part. Once again, very excited to be here and would love to share our thoughts about the topics.
Thank you so much, Crystal. Why are you not reaching out to us? I don't think we've actually connected, but if we did, I hope you did connect with us because I think you're pretty relevant to what we're doing, I think. All right, thank you so much for that intro. And Seer Network, you can go next. You can go next. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for having us again. So I'm Bren, representing Seer Network. Love to join the Chiron Spaces. In a nutshell, Seer Network is a protocol that powers decentralized data clusters around the world. So that means that people with excess storage, they can join one of these clusters, and then companies that want to have their own personal data cloud, they can simply launch it using our infrastructure. And I'll stop there. I don't make it too long.
I said 30 seconds, sir, not 2 seconds. Anyway, thank you for the intro. I guess next one would be DeFi Zone from Player.
Hi, yes, and thanks for having me up again here on the space. Like you said there, I am DeFi Zoo Racer representing the Player Gaming blockchain, which is an up-and-coming subnet built on Avalanche, focused on Web3 gaming and really lowering the barrier of entry as far as onboarding players and participants in our ecosystem for things like node validation. We have our nodes broken down into smaller clusters that will really allow a wider audience of users to participate in our network. We are currently on testnet, and the mainnet should be soon approaching, probably towards the end of this month. So definitely excited for that and the topic at hand as well. Thanks again for having me up.
Thank you. And thank you for coming back for, I think this is your third time with us. So happy to see people coming back to our spaces. Hope you come back again soon. And the next one would be Mark D. Gaines. Go ahead. If you're speaking, you're on mute. Sorry, you can unmute yourself when you're ready.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you do. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. There we go. Yeah, so Mark B. Games here, aka King Snooch, content creator in the space, just a guy in here, enjoying games and crypto and what that means for the future. Also a community liaison for Dark Times, and just here for entertainment and loving what Web3 brings to the space and what it brings to gamers.
Amazing. Happy to have you here and excited to hear your thoughts about the topic. Last but not the least for today would be Sheena. Go ahead.
Hello, I am Sheena. I've been in crypto for 10 plus years. Compliance and payments, certified as an anti-money laundering specialist, but currently doing token listings for LBank, a centralized exchange. So I help tokens get listed, but I'm a connector in the Web3 space. So I'm connected to market makers, VCs, anything anybody needs, I can probably find it for you. So I'm a huge gamer in real life. So definitely really interested in any gaming projects or any cool games out there. Shoot them my way. Love to try them out.
Thank you so much. Actually, before we start, I'll be the first one to shill. I'm just kidding. So I'm just going to say that you guys can go ahead and follow all of these amazing speakers before we can dive into our topic today. I want to keep it quite light. I feel like the market is down. I feel like everyone is quite sad nowadays. I'm personally sad. My portfolio is also even more sadder. So my question would be, my first one is for those who are previously launched their token, actually, do you think actually timing those releases during this current or during the bull market plays a significant role in your token price performance, or is it really more about marketing? So I guess this is more for people that launch their token, like maybe Devomon and Seer Network. I'd like to hear if that actually plays a significant role, or maybe it's all just hype and everything. Go ahead, Devo.
Yeah, so I think it does play a very significant role. Is it the only role, and is it do or die? No, there are good times to launch, and I can tell you guys an amazing story. We chose to launch in January, and the market was popping, and it was all going really good. And for those of you who've done a launch before, you know the hustle, right? There's some bad hustle you have to do, like coordinating different people, getting liquidity pools, fixing dates. Then there's the whole refund policy around launch pads. There's a whole load of things. Everyone has to agree on a date. Everyone has to agree on a time. Then you've got to make sure Karen Labs are ready to hit the go button when you're basically listing. So we chose the launch date. We chose the launch time. Market was good when we set all these dates up. We're like, yeah, we're going to do good, because obviously if you're launching a good market, you're going to get a nice pump. Your token's going to do well. Everyone's going to be happy. All your investors, all your community are going to be like, yes, amazing. The day we launched, and I said to my wife, look, babe, I'm going to be flat against the wall for the next few days when we launch. It's going to be crazy. She was like, I got you. Don't worry. I'll look after the kids. I was like, cool. We're on for this here. Then what happened? The day we launched was the day Bitcoin completely dumped in January. 3 hours before the launch, when I was going to start working, the wife comes in and says, look, babe, I know I said I've got you, but the hot water and the heating's just gone, middle of winter. We need to take the kids to your parents' to bathroom. Roof on the house fell off. Side of the garage came off, and I was like convinced for a while that I had someone do a juju on us, because it just all went wrong when it could go wrong, fundamentally. So, was it a bad start? Yeah, it was. But it's not about the start; it's about the ending. I firmly believe that. It's not people say when you come; it's what people say when you leave the space. That's really what it boils down to. Full of cliches, I know, but it doesn't mean our project is dead. It doesn't mean we're not going to make anything. We're still building, still delivering. We're still making. Was there a hiccup at the beginning? Did we get off the blocks like Usain Bolt? No, we didn't. Could we control that? No, we couldn't. But fundamentally, if you're here to build, you're here to deliver. It gets seen when the time is right. And if clearly the day we chose to launch, we didn't know it couldn't be the right time, but it wasn't. But it's not the end of us. It's not the end of our team. We were here before that. We'll be here after that, and that's really, from my point of view and my take.
That was I was laughing here. Sorry. I feel like you redefined Murphy's Law, sir.
Oh,
So
mate, it
uh,
was horrific. The hot having to put as I'm middle of the launch, speaking to a CEX at the same time, getting the kids in the car, going, we've got to go bath at my mum's house, driving down the road. It was horrendous. My poor wife's in tears, going, we've got no hot water, no heat. Having to buy portable heaters. It was fun. But you know what? I created lots of memories during that time, so I probably wouldn't change them.
congratulations on your milestone though recently. I've read about that. So I guess I go with you on, the beginning just not to justify the end. So all good.
Exactly.
Still more time to be better. So
Exactly.
Sierra,
Still time to write our story.
Sierra Network, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for City Network, it went a little bit better. Launched during the first IDO hype, so that was perfect timing. Also, the first crypto project to launch on Republic, that also went very well. So yeah, I think like Devamon said, you of course don't choose these conditions completely, but it can have certainly a positive or challenging impact, I would say, both for the team and for the investors. It's always fun when everything goes your way, right? So in that sense, I guess there is some timing element that you can play with if you believe that the cycles play out. But of course, if you have a good idea, you want to jump into it. Let's imagine the bear market just started. Are you really going to postpone for 2 years? I don't know. Most people will still try, right? Because they really believe in it. Yes, maybe getting funding will be a little bit more challenging, but you got to get the ball rolling. And if you can make it through the bear market and launch through the bear market, then you can definitely make it in the bull.
Yeah, well, considering timing, right? How early on do you actually need to look for your ideal platforms and all that stuff? Is it early on when you are already doing your tokenomics, or is it quite later on when you've already set the date for your launch normally. I feel like nowadays there's a lot of issues with this launchpad. It happened with Satoshi, SVM, and all that stuff. So for me, wouldn't it be better for you guys to kind of like choose those launch pads like a bit later on when you've tested them, or is it better to just time it accordingly um alongside while mapping your tokenomics and all that stuff? Just quite curious actually. So if I want to launch my own token, I want to be able to kind of have my own timeline set as well. Siri Network, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in first. Nowadays, of course, if you go to a launchpad, they will ask information about the project, and they will expect to have the tokenomics in place, because otherwise they cannot calculate and make an estimate of the project, what the value is, if it's valuable for their investors in their community. So I don't think you can do it before you have your tokenomics locked in.
Interesting. For those who haven't spoken yet, actually, I think that's Crystal, DeFi Zone, Mark. If there's anything you guys have recently noticed on previous launches versus the quite recent ones, is there anything that's different in what they're doing? What's makes them more successful than before? Do you have any comments on that? Oh, Mark D, go ahead.
Yeah, so I kind of put my hand up before you said that. Sorry about that. But one comment I do have to have that I feel like should be said here is I feel like a lot of the games that are coming out right now, the reason that they're launching their tokens before their game is actually fully developed and ready to go is for the funding aspect of it. Basically, that's what it comes down to. Why else would you need your token before you have the game ready? I think that caters to the traders and the degens and the people who want to deal with the token more than the people who want to play the game and use the token. So it depends on who you're trying to market to. If you're ready, right, and you don't need the funding and your game is good to go and you're ready to go, by all means, I say launch your game first and launch your token like the week after people get a chance to take a look at it. Because as a gamer myself, if I see a game, like if I'm going to invest in a game, I want to try it out first. I want to see, how does the game feel? How does it play? Is it something I want to put my money in before I just go and degen in and drop a bunch of money on a game I've never played? So I guess it comes down to not so much when, but more importantly, who your target is.
Absolutely makes sense. And to second that, right, I think nowadays the games that are launching in Web3, like the biggest difference from Web2 is just the token aspects of it, right? So it feels like for me, most of the Web3 games are just incorporating these token aspect of this business just to be able to have that added funding, as you have mentioned. So it definitely makes absolute sense. DeFi Zone, go ahead.
Hi, yes. So I think you had kind of asked maybe what we've seen as far as what's kind of trends there's been with different IDO platforms and things like that. So myself personally, I haven't worked super closely with our team as far as the back end for whatever IDO or launchpad platforms. I do know that we have some more details coming out with that very soon here. I think we're kind of have been evaluating quite a few different ones. But just something that I've noticed, personally with, a bunch of different gaming launches and being in a lot of these spaces is, it seems like we've been seeing a lot of, low float, high, fully diluted valuation. So we had this whole cycle of super hype around launches and, the VCs and early investors seeing big, 5, 10, 20x. And then now everyone's like, oh, Web3 gaming is dead because all those tokens, saw a decline as, unlocks and things came out. And another thing that, we've been seeing a lot of too is people complaining about, these play to airdrop campaigns where the games aren't fully done, the utilities aren't fully thought out by the time the tokens actually come out, or, different flops with airdrops and things like that. So I really think, a good timing wise is, you really have to have this utility thought out. You have to have your games much more polished and have different, actual use cases in your ecosystem. So I think, from the player gaming blockchain side of things, we're here in kind of a more unique stance than a lot of projects, because we do have a legacy gaming ecosystem that is actually going to be, like fully launched onto a new chain, the player gaming blockchain. So that's our gamer ecosystem. We do have 3 full-fledged games and 3 other Telegram games already in our gaming ecosystem, and the gamer token that's going to be basically, like the first gamer ecosystem token for our game. So like, we're seeing a lot of games that have just a token for one specific game. So, like I said, we're in a different kind of stance here, where our original gamer ecosystem token was, a community launched, or not community launch, a fair launch token, where 80+% of all the tokens were dispersed to the community over the course of 2 to 3 years, all before this. So our project has been, completely bootstrapped for the past 3 years, and now going to, this new chain here on Avalanche to, widen our audience and get more gamers in our ecosystem and participants. So I think, a big thing, at least for me and my experience working with different projects, is the perseverance and actually going through and polishing the gameplay, and having a core community that's ready to go up to bat for you when things are ready to go, instead of just being like this new project. Oh, hey, you have like a month to play the game, and then they close the game, and then it's like, we're seeing a lot of flip-flopping is the way that I would see it. But I really like having a core foundation, a strong community, and then products that speak for themselves when more gamers actually get the chance to get their hands on them. So yeah, I think we're almost at this like reset point, as far as a lot of projects are realizing like, oh, the hype cycle we had maybe wasn't the best method for all these projects, and now we're kind of like, a lot of people are back at the drawing board. I wouldn't say Web3 gaming is dead. I think, we're still just getting started. A lot of it, down to more polished games and products, and, experiences for the users as well.
Before I go to Crystal, I have a question for you actually. So you as a gamer yourself, basically, because we're now looking into mostly from a business perspective, right? You as a gamer yourself, how do you actually choose or dissect, which games are actually worth investing your, a token to, or something like that?
Yeah, so I think Mark kind of touched on this one too. So like, as a gamer myself, I want to at least be able to experience the game and not be gated by tokens or NFTs. Be able to kind of see what utilities and opportunities there are in the gaming ecosystem, like before I ever start buying things with crypto or credit card or whatever. I really like projects that have those opportunities where you can actually sink some gameplay time and hours into it, and then you can kind of like dip your toes in the water as you go, instead of like, there's been projects in the past where it's like, oh, you need this $400 NFT just to like, get most of the gameplay experience. That's like pretty off-putting to me. So I like where you can kind of like start slow, dip your toes in the water, and then if it's something that you really want to sink your toes in the sand, you can get more experiences as you dive deeper into the ecosystems.
Thank you for that. Makes sense actually. It's same with me. I would guess see the game firsthand before I actually pay anything. And it's the same with ads that you see online when you're with game ads and you see how it's a platform work, how it works, and you like the way that the game is being played. You basically get engrossed to it, trying to try it, and when the gameplay is so addicting, that's when you actually start paying coins or paying more money into it, putting more cash into the bucket, I would say. So yeah, absolutely makes sense. And thank you for that. Crystal, you can go ahead next.
Yeah, it's actually really exciting to hear about like your thoughts about gaming. I'm taking a more like high level view here because like I'm not into building gaming project yet, right? So going back to current questions, right? What is the trend that we have seen in token launching recently? I think there are two observations I want to share, and maybe it can bring some thoughts from you guys as well. The first thing we see is the low float, high FDV situation happening in the market, right? It getting like a lot of retail investor disappointed, and it make a lot of like newcomer to crypto like losing the belief in crypto and blockchain in general, right? So that's the first thing that we are seeing right now. And actually, Crystal, we are building like something like to solve the issue. I will share later on when we talk about the how. And the second observation that I have is like when we look into the history of fundraising, right? For ICO, like the total amount of fund being raised is 50 billion US dollar. But for IEO, it's only 0.7 billion. And for IDO, it's only 2.4 billion, right? So the question here is like, why do we see the total market cap like increasing, but the amount of fundraise is like significantly smaller? Is it because like all the VC and the private investor are now like having deal under the table and it's not being in the IEO and IDO? And then like IEO and IDO is just for like retail investor who are coming late? Or if we don't have like a good mechanism, right, to bring more retailers, to bring more legit investor into the field, and then reach the total fund raised by ICO, right? So the gap between like 2.4 billion for IDO and 50 billion for ICO, I think is a very, very interesting field that we can play, and then we can bring like new innovation in terms of helping investors like to come back to the field. Hello.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I think like I lost you for a minute.
Okay, all right. I was actually calling in Mark D to if you have any comments about that or.
Well, just like a waitress, always ask you how you're doing when your mouth is full of food.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm eating my lunch. Oh God, now I lost track of what my thought was. I was on DeFi Zoo Racer. About the launches. Now I'm gonna try and give me a second.
Yeah, about the launches and of course the previous launch and the current launches and how we would have done it differently. Basically, Crystal has pretty much it on point.
Now I remember. Yes. It was on how he goes about deciding whether or not he wants to play a game. And I think back, and I wanted to give an example. I play a lot of mobile games, right? So I'll download a game on my phone, I'll play it. If I like it, maybe I'll throw a couple dollars in, if I like it, right? And then during that game, if I see these ads that pop up for other games, I love to play games. I will check out just about any game, even if it looks cheesy and stupid, because I have found some games that typically in the past I probably would have just looked past, and then I end up playing them and I'm like, holy crap, this is so much fun. It's ridiculously stupid, but it's fun. What I do, and the way I choose whether or not I want to invest in a game, is step one, it's got to attract me in some sort of way. It's got to be something that I'm interested in, right? Like it's got to be some type of game that I like. If it hits that mark, I will go download the game. I then have to play that game for like an hour, maybe 2 hours to see if I actually really enjoy it. And then I look into the game and I see, kind of like about not so much about the community, but like other people that are playing. Is it just a PvE, like I'm just playing a solitaire type game, or am I playing other individuals and there's a community around it? Am I competing against whales? And then at that point, I make the decision, okay, is this a game that I could see myself spending some money on? And if the answer is yes, I start spending money on the game. I've got mobile games that I play every morning. When I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I do. I get up, I kind of come to, I pick up my game. My wife's usually still sleeping, and I'm checking all my loot boxes, and I'm completing my missions for the day. And those are games that I'm hooked on, right? And those are games that I've probably dropped a couple $100s on just in the past month because I enjoy them. I got to play them, and then I decided to spend money on them. Had you flipped that around and these games asked me, hey, spend $100 on this game and we'll let you play it? Absolutely not. I'd turn the other way and walk away. There's something to be learned from that.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense actually. But have you ever what is your point of like I'm spending too much money on this. It's a good game, and I'm spending too much money. I have to stop. Is there a specific timeline when you start to notice that actually, or you just keep playing as long as you enjoy the game? Because I'm generally
I'll put it this way: if I lose interest in the game and the game starts to go stale, I'll stop spending money on it. But if the game constantly has like updates and everything's good, I had a mobile game that I probably spent close to $20,000 on a mobile game that I played for like 7 years. And then the developers decided that there were some people that came in and figured out how to hack the game, and they were cheating in the game and duplicating items and stuff. And basically I went from like the top 20 in the world down to like the top 1,000 because there was a bunch of cheaters up there, and the devs did nothing about it. I decided, you know what? No longer want anything to do with this. Stop playing the game. Web3 fixes that, because if it was a Web3 game, I'd be able to extract some of that money that I invested in, but I can't. I just lost all that money.
look, in terms of incentives, you notice that you like it when you progress in the game, and of course when you earn money. But what about tournaments? Do you still that's also a good kind of like incentive for you to keep playing the game, or is it kind of like old fashioned right now?
Yeah, tournaments are great and everything, but I look at it like this, right? Gaming is no different than going to a concert, right? Gaming is no different than going to a concert. Do you expect to go to a concert for free and it be a good concert? Or do you expect to go to your favorite concert and you're going to buy a ticket that costs you money? As long as you're getting entertainment value out of it, you should be putting money into it. Sorry, I hit the mute button. But yeah, as in my opinion, if you're going to extract entertainment value out, you should be paying for that entertainment value. Now, tournaments allow you to actually make more money. That, in my opinion, typically in my past, my experience, anytime I win extra money in a game, I just dump it back into the game if I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the pit hole. It's similar to gambling, right? You keep earning and you keep playing basically at the same time.
But that's the thing. You look at Web2 gaming, how many Web2 gamers extract money from the games they play? 98% of them are only injecting money into the game, and the devs keep 100% of it. And they do it because they get the enjoyment out of it. It's entertainment. Gamers pay a lot of money for entertainment.
That's true. Yes, indeed. Actually, I want to circle back to Crystal. I did not forget about you. So I want to circle back to your question a while ago, right? So your question is basically that you notice that the total market cap is increasing while the total investment in terms of, IDOs launches recently has been significantly lower. Am I correct? Is that what you noticed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was like talking about is the total fundraise by ICO versus like IEO and IDO. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the significant gap on ICOs and IDOs are pretty much too much for you that the versus the total market cap of all of these, right? That was the question.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess like personally, based on what I've noticed, it's really more on like market maturity at this point. In general, when you look at projects that are, let's say, high market cap projects, right? They normally have already significant extensive adoptions and all that stuff. So in this sense, right, investors nowadays are looking more into diversifying most of their in their money. So if I were to have my money and all of these previous experiences, like, look, I have more success in IDOs, I have more success in let's say ICOs, or the recent ones that are happening in these platforms are not good. I guess in terms of market maturity, we have had prior, now we have the data and the previous experiences to look into versus before when it was recently launched, right? It's kind of like the distance is not that much, because then nobody has really had that data on IDOs and ICOs and all that stuff. So I guess in terms of that, it's really comes to market maturity. Now they're looking at it I would look at it in a more data structured way, where, okay, this one has, like, more higher chances of success versus the other one. I guess that's kind of like my belief on that. I don't know if you have if you think that's the same case for you, Crystal.
Yeah, I think like there's still some unanswered questions here that we may not be able to explain right now. Because like what I was seeing is ICO raised 50 billion, right? And IDO only raised 2.4 billion. So the gap here is 47 billion of fundraise. Right now we have a lot more projects, but we also have a lot more people coming into crypto, right? So where is the gap, right? I mean, like, how can we explain the gap? Is it like because there are a lot of VC and private investor, they are joining much earlier, and then like the amount of token left for IDO is significantly lower than before? Or do we, from a decentralized ideology, and that's why like we had ICO, like we are moving more to a centralized ideology when the majority of investment is being done by VC and private investor instead of like the retailers, right? So like this is like something that is amazing to me, and I think like there can be someone jumping into the field and close the gap, and then tap on the 47 billion US dollar gap between ICO and IDO.
You have a comment. You have a point there. Actually, have you guys noticed that recently there's just a lot of VCs, but not a lot of projects actually getting significant funding? That is also quite weird to me. Like, the number of VC introductions that I receive and almost on a daily basis is quite insane. But then you look at all of the recently funded projects, and actually there's not a lot. I guess perhaps there is indeed a gap into that. I'm not exactly sure. So maybe we can look into that if we actually do a more thorough analysis. Anyway, going back to token launches, would love to hear, actually, for those who have already launched a recent token, or already launched, perhaps it's like Devomon, you guys, what exactly is it that you would prefer to change on your previous launches? Like, what are the learnings that you would put in?
So in terms of what I think, things that are not in my control that I would like to change would be this launchpad refund policy. I think, all projects look at that as a bit of a scourge. We actually did okay out of it. We didn't do too badly, from my perspective, given all the conditions. But I just think it's somewhat unfair, from a project's point of view, because you then obviously there's lots of different things that you have to work with, and you're not quite sure of the budget that you're going to receive as a result of it. The launchpad launches are great in themselves. The advantage behind that is obviously there's the marketing aspect, the exposure to new community. But in terms of lessons learned, there's a plethora of them. Things. It was, personally my first launch within the team. We had a few people that had launched before that kind of knew what to expect. But I think the things that I want to change probably are not so much so in my control. The things that we want to change within the team, within the project, there's a few things that we want to do better, and there's always the way when you do things, right? You always find a way to do it better for next time round. You're constantly learning, and when you're not learning, then it's not. I think, well, for me personally, there's no fun in that anymore. But my biggest pain point personally, my biggest gripe was this whole launchpad refund thing, because it just doesn't make sense to me, to be honest with you. I can see why from the consumer point of view. it's a good thing to have, but you're investing. It's not as if if you bought stocks in a particular company, you wouldn't, if the stock dumped or stock didn't go the direction or didn't do a 10x or a 20x, you can't go back and ask for a refund because it didn't do the multiples you wanted to. The logic seems to be not there. It's a good move for the launch pads, I think, but in terms of getting more users on board. But I think for the market overall, I don't think it helps. And that's just, like I said, personal opinion. People may not agree.
Makes sense, actually. And actually, I think one of the things that I also noticed is in terms of exchanges before and after. I think the recent requirements right now in terms of exchanges have significantly changed. And if you were to ever to launch your token as well, and give me, I would say, if you can give me the top 4 exchanges that you kind of like trust for launching your token, what would that be? Recently, just to give you a feedback, guys, why I'm asking this, I had a significant discussion with, let's say, BNB Chain recently that they have issues in terms of getting new tokens launched on Binance specifically. And I guess one of the biggest reason for that is actually because the recent launches, token launches in Binance actually didn't get that, I would say, has questionable outcomes after. So probably that plays a huge role into that as well. So my question for you guys is, if you were to choose exchanges to launch your tokens, how would you assess that, and who would you go for, basically? I see no hands being raised. I would just give someone a hot seat. Okay, Crystal, go ahead.
Actually, Crystal doesn't have a token yet, and we actually asking ourselves these questions. And my answer right now is we are going to launch Crystal on our own Crystal launch pad. The reason being is, as I said earlier, right, about like the low float, high FDV issues, and also like the gap between ICO and IEO and IDO. We're seeing a big opportunity here, like for revolutionary way of fundraising. And what we are looking into right now is initial liquidity offering. So in a simple term, instead of giving the VCs and the investor only the token, we are giving them liquidity positions, which is lock, right? So what we are going to do is like trying to make sure that like we are going to have higher float at the beginning, but also we are going to have less sell pressure, and there should be like fees that like our investor can collect, like when people trading our tokens, right? So we are building that platform, and we are going to launch, I think in June, with the first project doing IO on our platform already. So like this will be a good test for us, like to see if like it's going to work. So for myself, I'm going to launch Crystal in our own launchpad.
Makes sense. DeFi Zone, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, so I may not be able to give like a specific answer because some of these things we are still working out the details for, especially for the player chain side of things. But ultimately, it's going to come down to whatever decision is going to be the best for the community and the project, where whoever we decide to partner with isn't taking too much control on how we launch things, or what valuations we launch at, or taking up too much, asking for too much and providing too little. So ultimately it's going to be whatever's the best for the project and the community. And like I said, we are going to have some more details coming as far as our launch and launch pad, and our node sale, cluster sale will be coming up very soon for Player Gaming Blockchain. So definitely looking forward to that. I just I don't know if I can really, we don't really have some of the specifics set down yet, so we'll have to wait for official announcements for those things.
Marky, comment on that?
Again, I was drinking. Okay. It is what it is. So similar to what he said, I got to be careful with what I say, but This is how, if I was to develop a game, right? If I was putting together my own game and I wanted to decide what chain I wanted to launch on, I would probably look at it like this. I would look at what chain already has big games. Let's use examples, okay? Avalanche has big games like Off the Grid, Shrapnel, Providence, a bunch of pretty big names, right? Big games that are already playable, that have the attention of the chain. I would tend to sway away from a chain like that because I would look at it as I would be the little fish in the ocean and I would not get much support or marketing help or attention from that chain because I'm the little guy. Now, this would also be if I believe that my game was going to be really good and really big and really massive and the next big thing. If that was the case, I would try to find a chain that has really good technology behind it, a really good team, and up and coming. And I would look for that because if I had a game that was going to be big, I could be their catalyst. I could be their big name that they launch with. And in doing so, I would get A, all of the marketing attention, B, any tech support I needed, and just the attention of that chain. I would probably, that would be like my holy grail. But in general, if I was doing like just like an indie, like hyper casual game that I just wanted to get out there and get a lot of players, I would probably look for something like Avalanche where they have the user acquisition and they have the community behind them. I would probably go with something like that just for the numbers behind it.
That's very interesting, actually, and I would actually quote that. It's quite true that sometimes, and it also sounds counterintuitive, right? Because it seems like, oh, the big fishes are in there. I want to be with the same league as them, so let's launch it there as well, right, Marky? So I guess it kind of makes sense for like small projects to do that as well, but it also depends on performance, right? Like if they're recently, like for example, I do know that a lot of the memes are launched on base, and for the reason that because they do support hype into their meme coins over there, so maybe that's something to consider as well. Siri Network, go ahead. Any comments on those?
Yeah, I think especially now it's interesting with so many very good decentralized exchanges. It wouldn't be a crazy approach to do a launch on the DEX first, and then if it's very successful, then I think the conversations with centralized exchanges will go a lot easier than when you are coming out of nowhere and asking a big exchange to list you. Usually it comes with significant cost as well, especially if you have your own network and it's not you're not launching your token, for example, on Ethereum or one of the major chains, and they have to integrate your chain. That's a big investment and a cost you will have to consider when selecting the exchanges. But regardless of cost, probably more important to check if the type of investors they have, and this is regardless of centralized or decentralized, if the type of investors matches the audience that you want to reach, right? I think that's maybe the most important thing you have to think about.
Interesting, and I actually did forget that we have an exchange here today. So from L Bank, which is Sheena. So I would like to know your comment on that, actually, Sheena.
Yeah, so my experience with listing has been I would never tell a project to list on just one exchange. You need to list on multiple exchanges. Your regions, your target markets where you're going to be. You might think that you want a certain area, but you don't even know that there's a whole nother region that's popping and gaming. Like I was just at Token. And everybody I've never heard anybody talk about the Middle East as a big gaming market, right? And for like the last year, and I go to Token and like, man, was I mistaken? And so like projects need to list on multiple exchanges. I always tell everybody that I work with, you need to work with multiple different exchanges. Start off with some of the smaller ones so you can get your volume going, and then move your way up. That's how you get on Binance, Gates, KuCoins, all of those. Their minimum volume requirements are like Gate, I think, is like 1 million trading volume, and you can't get that if you're a brand new project or a brand new game that nobody knows about. So it really is important to start on, DEXs, and then, or, if you've got the funds, start on, some centralized exchanges. Marketing is so key. It's not just marketing that the exchange does for you, but also the marketing that your marketing team is doing for you. It is so important to properly market your game, make sure that there's a community behind you. Otherwise, you're literally paying a listing fee for nothing, because you're going to list and you don't have a community to trade. So marketing is so important, and your market makers. It's all of these things come in. They're all vital, and it's important to have people that align with your interests. Everybody works differently in the Web3 space, and it's important to make sure that you're working with people that share the same values as you, so you don't run into issues with, well, this isn't how I usually do things. So I always tell people, like, LBank is a good first option. We are a huge gaming community. So it's a good option for meme coins and games and, all other projects. It's, a good place to start. But yeah, I definitely multiple exchanges, always talk to multiple people. Don't go with the first one. I had somebody tell me it takes 30 days to figure out if you and a person can really work together or not. So, I mean, that's kind of long in the listing space, but just for all the people out there thinking about listing tokens, you should be engaging your exchanges at least 60 days in advance. Otherwise, you are not going to get to take advantage of your marketing the way that you should. So that's my thoughts on that.
Totally forgot about Sheena, and I that's a very good comment for you over there, and and please also with market makers, definitely makes sense. But I can't show myself, so let's go for Mark D.
Yeah, sorry. I do got a dip here at the top of the hour, so I got to take off in 2 minutes. But I just wanted to ask Crystal a question on this, as far as going multi-chain versus a single chain. If you're just starting off, do you feel like going multi-chain, you kind of lose the opportunity for a massive marketing budget that you could get from just going with one chain, as opposed to splitting it between multi-chains? If you're going one chain and you're going to be that big game that launches for that chain, wouldn't you tend to get like more of a marketing budget from the chain than you would if you were to go multi-chain?
I think that would be something Sheena should actually answer. Sheena, what do you think?
Yeah, my personal experience in working with I'm on the advisory board for 3 Web3 games, and I work with many others. Multi-chain is where it's at. If you can do it, if you've got the bandwidth to do it, multi-chain is where it's at. You reach a much larger audience, and there are so many chains coming out now that encourage multi-chain. And with all the new interchain operability, a multi-chain is definitely you're shutting yourself down if you go to just one. It'd be like listing on just one exchange, my opinion.
Thank you, appreciate that. And yeah, you were right. It was Sheena and not Crystal. My bad.
Yeah, okay. Actually, personally, this is not coming from Chiron. I think multi-chain also makes sense, but you also have to make sure that when you do launch your token, that it is easy to bridge that token into multiple chains as well. I think this is also kind of like an issue that we encounter sometimes, and with the recent releases of these solutions, I guess it's quite easier for us to kind of find a way to make it happen anyway. So yeah. We're pretty much reaching the end of the line here, so we're actually an hour in. So as always, guys, thank you so much for the listeners for tuning in today, and to our amazing speakers. Again, I want to shield them for you guys because they couldn't, so I'm gonna shield for them. So please, guys, please follow them, and you can Devomon here, really fun, amazing game over here. And Crystal, they actually offer automated and manage your crypto liquidity earnings, make it easier for you to liquidate your assets. And to offer liquidity for assets. Steer Network, they offer decentralized data cloud. DeFi Zone over here with Player, of course, really good to check out as well. Sheena here, L Bank. And of course, already the one that's just already left, which is Michael D, guys, also working with the game as well. So guys, don't forget to follow them, and if you can support them when you can. Next week, we also have another topic talking about DAOs and everything about it. Again, it will be linked on our X page, so please follow us there as well. Thank you guys so much, and see you again next week. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Bye, guys.
Thank you for having
Cheers.
us. Bye.
Bye.